Good morning and once again welcome to my YouTube channel Pearson and Excel International Maths by Mr. Kamotho. And in this video I want to further explain an approach of completing the square. We're still discussing pure IGCSE 9 to 1 Mathematics A, of course book 2, and we are in Algebra 7, specifically dealing with completing the square method of solving quadratic equations. And now that we have had that in case we have x squared plus bx plus c is equals to x plus b over 2 squared minus b over 2 squared plus c, the question is what happens during completing the square when the coefficient of x squared is not equals to 1. This is a case where the coefficient of x squared is 1. So what happens when the coefficient of x squared is not equal to 1? That is the question we need to answer in this video. And I'll just look at it through an example whereby in example 7, that is example 7 on page 116, we are told to write 4x squared plus 12x minus 5 in the form a x plus p squared plus q. Of course, you can see there's a coefficient outside this bracket. And what we need to do is something which is quite simple. We have to have the given equation, which is 4x squared plus 12x minus 5. First of all, it is important to note that there is something common in the first two terms, because we would eventually want to leave our x squared with coefficient of 1. We have to work towards that achievement. And in this case, we are going to say this is 4 is common, open bracket, x squared plus 3x, close bracket, minus 5. And this one now resembles what we have been dealing with. And therefore, 4 remains outside as we deal with this particular part. It is important to just note that x squared, of course there is a 4 outside, plus 3x plus 3x minus 5 is going to be equals to 4x plus 3 over 2 squared. We are now dealing with this part, minus 3 over 2 squared. And that bracket reaches there. The bracket which is going to be affected by 4 is up to that particular point. Remember, only minus 5 is independent because minus 5 is the one which is the C. And it follows that after now we are through with this bracket and we have completed the square and we have affected everything by 4, then we subtract or we bring in our C, which was originally minus 5. It is our duty and responsibility now to open up the brackets. And before even we open the bracket, it's important to note up to what level does this 4 outside affect. And because the 4 was affecting the first two terms, which are very conspicuous in completing the square, every process of completing the square, which is up to minus b over 2 squared, before we bring in the c, up to that particular point, it is affected by the constant 4. Having said that, this simply becomes something to do with, this is 4 um, x plus 3 over 2 squared minus 9 over 4, and the whole thing is now affected by 4 minus 5. Bringing in the 4, um, of course we have 4 into bracket x plus 3 over 2 squared. These 4 affect this minus now that 6 over 4, which is minus 9, because 4 times 9 over 4, this 4 and this 4 will cancel out, and now the bracket will be relaxed. We will not have the bracket, because as much as the 4 is affecting these first two terms, it has independently affected this one to give us minus 9, and we are now leaving 4 to affect, this bracket, which is squared. And opening this bracket will be an uphill task, because we'll first of all have to open it up by squaring it, and then affect each and every term by 4. So even when it is in this form, it is still good, but of course remember this 4 has affected minus 9 over 4 independently. And of course now we bring our C. So the final submission is 4x plus 3 over 2 squared minus 14. And that is just like it. So in a nutshell, what we are saying is, if we have ax squared plus bx plus c, it can be written in terms of a x plus b over 2 squared minus b over 2 squared, and the bracket reaches there, plus c. This is a very general rule. It's a very general rule. And up to that point, then we are good to go. That is as far as example 7 is concerned. Please make sure you are able to follow through. Make sure you are able to follow through. And that is just like what we need to know. I don't know whether we can explain example 11 in the same example, in the same video. Example 8 rather, not example 11, but let's just have it in its own video. So make sure this one is clear to everybody. Again, visit my YouTube channel, Pearson and Excel International Maths. Subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll be noticed or notified every time we upload something new.